Hi, Judy Kruis here with essay number 2 on The Finished Life by Pedro Adao. As Pedro notes in chapter 1, how you answer the question of who am I will significantly impact on your ability to live out your finished life. And I remember years ago, my brother who's practicing Buddhist asked me, "Who are you?" And I answered the email quickly and said, "I'm a daughter of the King." It's taken years, but I know I have been chosen and redeemed by the great price Jesus willingly paid for all of us. I'm not just to walk through life with assurance of eternity someday after death, but also to do things that Jesus did and bring the kingdom nearer to others on this earth. I feel it's through our intimacy and identity as God's children that we further understand our own roles and are better able to help those we influence in their unique kingdom purposes. I felt Pedro sharing on the word perfect to be impacting. As you dig further into the Greek, is often sharing more of a story. And as teleo, we are used to seeing as perfect. It really is about being finished, completed, fulfilled, and accomplished, just as Jesus did while he was on this earth. God had shared a vision of how we bring many unneeded expectations to ourselves and others to achieve and display that perfection all at once. But we forget that we first need to receive the finished work on the cross and then continue our journey with him that carries us towards perfection. And like Jesus, we will grow in favor and stature with God and men. I have found through previous studies that the words of kingdom were used much more by Jesus and the disciples than anything about believers, saved ones, or Christians. Jesus came to seek and save the lost, not just for their eternal destination, but for their earthly purposes to be fulfilled, finished, and completed. In chapter 1, he really shares a great emphasis on this is needed for daily living, and your reward for doing so is that you will discover and unlock the authentic, powerful, and joy-filled, passionate individual that you were created to be. And in chapter 2, he shares something I certainly have lived, that it's highly unlikely that you will end up with an empowering identity if it is to be shaped by the judgments and opinions of others. I did not grow up knowing Jesus, but some young dreams were to be married, working at home, raising kids, having a beauty salon in my home, and my artwork for sale on the walls. I was not highly encouraged in my dreams by others, even though I graduated second in my class. Most said, get a real job. And since you have a small scholarship for math, go to the local business college. So my creative dreams were buried in the closet. I went to college for accounting, computer programming, but had no passion and I did not complete. Even though I continued in various accounting and admin roles, I found ways to bring some of the creative dreams into my life, even before my journey with Jesus. I cut hair for more than 10 years for a lot of different people and never went to beauty school. I did various small business ventures, and I also got licensed in life insurance and securities while I was working full time. I later met Jesus in my mid-30s and went back to college. In my 40s, I got a bachelor's degree in business management with ministry leadership, and it was definitely God's hand that I could study theology, working for a non-believing boss. After graduation, I signed up for classes at a local arts council and started to rediscover my artistic side and reactivating my mind that loves to dream and imagine. It was also during those years God brought kids into my life through exchange students. And then my art started selling from the walls of my home. Our dreams do come, but often in different ways than we expect. I have known for several years that creating art and continuing to help manage a small gallery outside of my day job was not the fulfillment of my purpose. I am definitely unwilling to settle for less than God's purposes. I know him to help others discover and claim the dreams and destiny God has placed in them and guide them in the journey. I was able to do this through a ministry in Haiti. I was teaching business skills to a group of artisans up in the mountains, and through a workshop God had given me, I shared a few times in local churches how people can discover the dreams that God has for them. I always felt that this was more of a ministry that I would continue to give for free. And I didn't see a lot of ways where I could make this become a business until 100x. As shared in chapter 3, it says, fulfilling your purpose and living the finished life will require radical focus. As you advance into your purpose, the path becomes narrower, and in certain seasons of your life, it can become uncomfortably narrow. And it brought me back to something in chapter 2. It says, there will be times of testing that will appear to completely contradict your identity. Many people during these pressing and often extremely difficult times of contradiction choose to question and even give up on their identities and purposes. And I'd like to suggest to you that these times of contradiction shouldn't cause you to question your identity. Rather, they should serve to confirm it. Conflict and opposition are almost always a part of the process of preparation for purpose and confirmation of identity. And I couldn't agree more, Pedro. I heard God, I stepped where needed. It didn't look normal and it cost a lot. My encouragers were not kingdom-minded ones and soon brought more accusation instead of support. I felt very alone, rejected. And even though my time with God shared great words and promise and pictures of what would be, I had no way of comprehending almost losing my house and having so many desert me. As the words from God continued for his plans to have me investing in kingdom businesses and empowering kingdom entrepreneurs, I could see why my financial background, working in brokerage firms, doing budget counseling, and all those years of accounting, they had been stripped down so I could see financial things even more through a kingdom lens. There is no lack. He regularly would share, the right people would come. And I clung to those words and have been meeting people around the world. And it's great how he has been revealing the ones to really journey with. In 2015, God brought another one who is very similar in calling and strong kingdom values. And more recent mutual encouragement with her has been a great fuel to keep forging ahead. And as you shared in chapter 2, fulfilling your finished life will not just require you knowing your identity, but that you have people around you who also know your identity, people who will support you and help you unlock your potential. I've been pretty consistent in my story through the years. And even though I did not know when or how this would happen, and others were questioning, are you really hearing from God? Some of them who've had doubts are now even more understanding how God is bringing things together and have been even more supportive. So that's a very good feeling. Chapter 3 quote that speaks to a lot of what I'm experiencing in the past few years. Desire and enthusiasm for something creates a hunger and awareness of things, people, and situations that you believe can help bring about the outcome you desire. Passion makes you smarter as it creates a target for your brain to focus on, which makes it much easier for your brain to filter out information that is not important and bring to your attention only what is important. I had some laughter in chapter 4. I had laughter in several places, but as I read and thought about the price of purpose, I have asked God many times, who in the world would want to follow the path I have taken? Being true to who I was called to be and who he needs me to be has come with great cost, but I would not have it in any other way. Pedro shared on some great leaders who were also so committed to their God-given purpose that they adopted a mindset that the purpose of their life was worth sacrificing, even dying for if needed. And I feel the same with multiple trips to Haiti, living without electric or running water, several other challenges. He is the pearl of great price, and selling, losing, giving it all for his purposes is worth it. A quote, when things don't go your way, will you continue to trust in God and in his goodness, or will you allow offense to have you question the existence or nature of God? From chapter 5, I have had moments and weeks of being ready to give up the pursuit and try to be content with a basic earthly life. But the pearl continues to call. It can't be escaped. In chapter 6, you write, finishing often requires going places others are not willing to go and doing things others aren't willing to do. And a verse that really came to mind, not that I have already obtained all this or have already arrived at my goal, but I press on to take hold of that for which Christ Jesus took hold of me. Brothers and sisters, I do not consider myself yet to have taken hold of it, but one thing I do, forgetting what is behind, straining towards what is ahead, I press on toward the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus. From Philippians 3, 12 through 14. Chapter 7 seems to be really speaking to the current part of my journey and connecting with other kingdom-minded people, both in 100X and outside. It's beautiful to see movement come once again to further the dreams he wants to accomplish in my life. I have had many words of doing more speaking, though I do like to stay in the background. I'm comfortable in front of others. Writing, sharing, presenting, listening, and questioning are pretty natural responses, but I'm glad for this space in 100X to put even more into practice. A quote I loved, pursue an authentic life. Hold on to what is real. Casting off the counterfeit, authenticity is attractive and, like humility, sets you up to win. Chapter 10 brings some joy. Living your finished life will allow you to experience the most successful and fulfilled life possible. And it brings some sadness with the truth that the majority of people will not live their finished lives and will end up contributing to the wealth of the cemetery. So many I know are staying in the comfort of their mud, their PTSD, their lack, their history, and more. I and others are there to help with freedom, truth, hope, and yet they choose to stay in the land of familiar instead of walking in the kingdom of glory with God. The potential inside you will only be manifested when incubated in the right community and environment. I feel that 100X in coaching, I have found the best place for my incubation. And I know it will help me to create and bring that type of environment to those I am called to work with through a new venture and through coaching. I'll finish with this quote. Your life matters. You are not only needed, but also desired. There is no one else like you alive today. There are things that you have been uniquely designed, gifted, and equipped to do for such a time as this. Don't be robbed by the grave. Remember the sting of death by living your finished life and fully manifesting the glory that's inside. Remove the sting of death by living your finished life and fully manifesting the glory that's inside of you. I have a very sincere thank you to you, Pedro, for sharing your story and wisdom through the finished life, through your writing, for all of us who desire to have a strong kingdom impact. I've shared in my paper a painting that I did. And several years ago during a worship healing night, I do some live prophetic painting. And I think you'll enjoy the words the Lord had me share with it. I'll read those to you to finish. Long before the brush touches the canvas, the ideas and images are forming. Bringing them to life is not just a matter of skill, but a matter of the heart and the soul. A journey into the unknown, a courageous step of faith to bring life to an empty canvas. Sharing an intimate look that leaves one vulnerable and exposed. It must be done. The painting will come to life with one message, but so many more are under the surface waiting to be discovered. We all have a story that needs to be shared with someone somewhere. And now is the time to push aside the perceived limitations and rediscover the message you have not yet shared. You have all you need, and what you have is what someone else is waiting for. So be brave. The canvas can't be completed without you. And my painting is titled Under the Surface. So thank you, bless you, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye.